the question that everybody's asking. Are you more excited to see Oppenheimer or Barbie?
Neither. I'm looking forward to Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Mutant Mayhem?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you were going to say you were more interested in seeing The Sound of Freedom.
What's the Sound of Freedom?
It's Jim Cozamore's favorite movie. Welcome everybody to Just Your Opinion, man. Stephen Langford and Derek Papa. Love
Hope
Coz.
you're not uncomfortable. By the way, I watched Gabe Kapler doing his post games, and I'm like, I'm gonna do it like this. I'm going to get on a couch, be as cash as possible, leave anyone open to maybe come sit on the couch right next to Papa, and then we go from there.
Well, you know that's me in this scenario.
Oh yeah, you're Papa.
Yeah.
Forgot that's your last name. Damn it. Can you get a different last name?
It ruined. Sometimes I wish. Yeah, like I have been noticing that a lot lately, where Gabe is doing the casual post game interviews. Like most of the time, managers will have a podium and whatnot, and Gabe just likes, hey guys, let's all sit around. We'll talk about my coffee Instagrams, and Susan will always sit next to me, and we'll have a good time.
They used to do, Bochy and like Kotze, those guys do it at their desk. You could do it at your desk when you're like, just leaning forward or something. But
Bochy usually goes to the dugout after the games.
He used to go to his desk though. He also used to do that.
I'm sorry. Kapler goes to the dugout after the games.
Mm-hmm. And it just sits on the couch, and it's just very cash. So I think I'm going to do the podcast like that. Also, there are a few podcasters who do it the same way. So I'm copying them. I got my bare feet. I'm actually just showing my bare feet to the camera. I don't want to do that. That's weird.
Oh yeah, so you're doing like an Aaron Rodgers thing now. That's weird.
Yeah.
Okay. It's way more than we needed on this podcast. Good Lord. You gotta let people pay extra for that. All right, but in all honesty, before we get to sports, Steven, hang on to your hats. I know you were thrilled when you texted me this morning. We're really doing a training camp preview show. You're damn right we are. Because we got nothing else to talk about.
It's like,
and there are things I want to talk about with training camp, like, everyone's going to make a big hoopla about the Niners QB situation. Jimmy is cleared, so everyone that was freaking out about that situation, you could calm your tits because Jimmy will be there. And we'll just talk about some training camp stuff. But I will say, too, and we'll talk about this as well, the highlights of training camp and the stats during training camp practices, I could give a fuck. Yesterday, I saw, Aaron Rodgers overthrew Garrett Wilson in tight coverage, or Mecole Hardman. We're really doing this right now?
Yeah, fake Dove Kleiman's posting everything from Jets training camp right now. So,
and that's another thing we'll talk about is we are going to get tired of the Jets fast between all the coverage on Pick a Network and Hard Knocks. It's going to be a lot.
I call it draining camp because it's draining.
Ooh.
It's just nonstop. Like I think when I went, sure, you could tell like with receivers how good they're potentially going to be because they're going one-on-one with cornerbacks after all. But like to comment on what quarterbacks are doing, what offensive linemen are doing, what defensive linemen are doing just based on drills, it's draining, bro. It's a lot of information to take in.
And if we learned anything from last year, none of that stuff means anything because I saw a ton of highlights of Matthew Stafford throwing beautiful passes to Allen Robinson, and we all know how that turned out.
Right. Now, it's a cycle. It's a draining cycle, and this is how it goes with everything in football. You start something up, then after a few weeks, you're kind of like, okay, let's get on to the next thing. Like with training camp, starts up. Oh, great. You're seeing these guys back on the field again. It's great to see them on the field. All right, let's get to some preseason games. We're at preseason week 1. Oh, this is awesome. Then you remember it's just a bunch of second stringers and third stringers trying to play for their job. It's not that entertaining of football. And then you can't wait for the regular season. Then the regular season rolls around. And then give it 10 or 11 weeks, and that's when you get to the dog days where you're like, okay, let's get to the playoffs now. We know which teams are good and which teams aren't.
No, Steven, you hit it on the head because every year we are so football starved, especially from the national media, because God knows they hate talking baseball, and I'll bring that up in a little bit here. Um, but when it comes to everything related with football, they can't wait to get it because that just means more content and more eyeballs, more clicks. And especially when we get to the regular season, people are like, oh, thank God football's here. Everybody tweets it out that day. And then everybody automatically complains right out the bat that the football's not good and that everyone's not in a groove because less practices and everything. Everybody just bitches because it's not what they expected. And you are 100% correct. Training camp is just a bunch of glorified practices. NFL Network will do 7 hours of, well, they'll have plenty of commercials, but they'll do 7 hours of coverage. They'll do their own red zone of training camp this upcoming Saturday for Back Together Again. And it's nothing. It really is nothing. But
Yeah.
it's the time for us to talk about these topics that are ridiculous, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So let's talk about it then.
Okay, great.
Before we do, just real quick, I brought it up at the beginning of the podcast. Barbie, Oppenheimer. Are you going to see one tonight? Are you planning on seeing either at all?
Could see Barbie tonight. We're going to see Barbie first. We reserved, I don't even want to reveal how much Jesse, not myself, Jesse paid for the tickets. I got to pay her back. But we paid kind of a lot for
Oppenheimer?
To see it in the theater in which it's meant to be seen. Because
over or under $50.
What, like total?
Yes.
A little under.
Okay.
Over? A little over.
A little over 50?
Yeah, I mean,
like if so basically you're saying you went to go see it. You're going to go see it in IMAX.
Yes, IMAX in the Metreon, but a very specific type. It's not just like there's IMAX and then there's a regular theater. There's different types of IMAXs, the type of film that they use. Apparently the Metreon is like one of 16 movie theaters in the country that actually runs this type of projector, which Oppenheimer is meant to be watched on. And we figured, you know what? It's been a long time since there's been a summer blockbuster. Seems like Barbenheimer's kind of bringing back summer movies.
Just a week ago, there was Mission Impossible coming out.
Yeah, but no one really cared about that. It's just another Mission Impossible.
No, minus the 155 million people that went to go see it the first weekend.
Well, it underperformed, under below expectation. If you actually look at it, they had to extend that for by a couple of days because they weren't happy with the opening numbers.
And so, Tom Cruise yelled at all those workers for nothing during COVID.
Was that a Dead Reckoning thing? It was a Mission Impossible thing. Was that Dead Reckoning Part 1 where he yelled at everybody?
Oh yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
but we're going to see that one August 5th, Metreon. Very excited.
I'm going later tonight to go see Oppenheimer at the Grand Lake Theater in Oakland. It's a big old theater. I don't know if it's the right theater per se for what you're supposed to see in Oppenheimer. Here's my thing with that whole thing of like Christopher Nolan and James Cameron saying like, if you're gonna go see my movie, you gotta go see it in the right state, or you gotta go, to this theater and you gotta pay this amount of money and blah blah blah. I get all that, but also shouldn't movies just be watched for the sake of the movie itself? Does it matter like we see it on like a big IMAX or whatever? Like I fully agree going seeing movie in theaters. Because I hate that we just stream all the movies now. But when it comes to seeing a movie in the theaters, do you really need to tell your audience you got to pay extra to get the real experience?
Yes.
Well, of course.
That's why we're doing it. Who are you asking? You're asking a guy who literally just told you he's doing this very specific thing, and you're like, is there a point to it? Yes, I think so.
I just didn't like. Well, this goes back to Christopher Nolan during COVID, being like, when Tenet came out, and they were like, well, we're not gonna be able, you could release it, but the audience is going to be terrible. And he's like, I spent so much money on this movie and everybody needs to go see it in IMAX, blah, blah, blah. And she's like, dude, Christopher Nolan, Chrissy baby, just wait a year, release it when Fast and Furious comes out and everything, and you'll be fine.
Did you happen to hear any clips from him on the Rich Eisen show?
Christopher Nolan?
Yeah.
Christopher Nolan went on the Chris Eisen. Rich Eisen show?
He did. It was actually him. Yeah. And they asked him like what's like the Christopher Nolan movie for you? Like what's the one that you love?
Fast and Furious.
No, he said Anchorman.
Oh wow, he really?
Yeah. He's like, no, it's not Anchorman. Talladega Nights. He said Talladega Nights. And he's like, if you ain't first, you're last.
mean-
I have a newfound respect for my man Chris after that take.
No, I mean he makes great movies, but he also is there's a lot of great auteurs, filmmakers. There's a huge ego with that
Of
where
course.
they want you to see their films but I will say a lot of great drama directors have great respect for comedy. So I can see that.
Yeah.
He did also say he loves and has seen every single Fast and Furious movie. So while you think it's for dilettantes or new booties, another Jim Cosmore reference,
Oh.
a man of Christopher Nolan's intellect enjoys them.
Yeah, well, he's an idiot.
As you just gave him props for loving Talladega Nights. All right. Well, if you're curious, Barbie. So far, they don't have the final numbers yet, but apparently, Barbie has made 155 million this weekend, and Oppenheimer so far has made 80.5. Not bad for either. Really good for Barbie, as we expected. Oppenheimer, R-rated movie, 3 hours long, still pretty good.
Yeah. Well, no, Barbie reaches a much wider spectrum of audience than Oppenheimer does. Even though Oppenheimer seems great, I'm not thinking like any teenagers are going to go out with their friends to the movies to go watch Oppenheimer. No, they're going to go watch Barbie.
Well, okay, if you were in high school and this movie was coming out, or both of these movies were coming out, which one would you rather go see?
If I was in high school,
Yeah.
well, if I was in high school now, I'd probably be way more obsessed with putting myself on social media. So Barbie would be the one. It's a social media movie, dude. Everyone loves to go see it so they can post on social media that they wore pink to the movie theater.
That's why I'm going to pass on this. I'll wait for it to be on Max, and then I'll probably watch it for 5 minutes and be like, this movie was not made for me, and that's fine. But yeah, Oppenheimer seems like there's a lot of hype with it. I'm looking forward to it. Christopher Nolan has made some stinkers lately, in my opinion. Hated Tenet. I thought that was just him being just arrogant and just ridiculous plot that made no sense whatsoever, and kind of being like, well, you're not smart enough to understand my plot of this movie. I thought Interstellar wasn't good. So far, everything I've read about Oppenheimer is it may be one of the best films ever made.
Disagree with you on Interstellar. It's a fantastic film.
Murph, it's the power of love, Murph.
Oh, so good.
Not my thing. Not my thing. All right, before we get to training camp talk, let's do just your headlines, man.
Ooh.
Or, as they do on New Heights, new news. We're just stealing a segment.
We are not stealing their segment. They just do new news when they bring up, like, I don't know.
Should we talk like them too on the Travis Kelce and Jason Kelce? Ooh, here we go. We got new news. Well, all right, y'all.
No, that's a good Travis Kelce impression though.
That's just he does the entire podcast in a voice. I'm like, Travis, you don't sound like that. Just talk normally. But I will say the latest episode with Julian Edelman, really good.
Yes,
really good. All right, just your headlines, man. Josh Harris was finally approved by the NFL owners to take over as owner of the Washington Commanders, ending beloved owner and friend of John Gruden, Daniel Snyder's reign of 25 seasons. Harris, who also owns the Philadelphia 76ers, said it's a new day in Washington, and I'm looking forward to making this franchise drama-free. Now, if you excuse me, I have to figure out how the fuck we're going to get James Harden off of my other team.
And Magic Johnson, too. Don't forget about him.
Magic Johnson, yeah. Magic Johnson. So he's a minority owner with the Commies.
Correct.
But apparently they're not going to be called the Commies going forward. This is going to be a one-year thing, and then they're changing the whole damn thing again.
Yes, they're rebranding everything, which they should.
Well, I don't know. I mean, they fought so much to be the football team and then the Commanders. Just leave the Commanders.
Just your headlines, man.
Okay. All right. Shohei Ohtani. I actually need video for this too, Steven. The first clip I sent in the chat here.
Oh.
Shohei Ohtani has been the talk of the MLB trade deadline. In fact, he's been the only talk of the MLB trade deadline because so many national talking heads don't know anything about baseball. Case in point.
How much you could get for Ohtani? I'm guessing. I'm a casual. 5 first-round picks, your best prospect, your third best prospect, and 2 solid starters.
Well, given how poorly the Angels have done in the draft recently, I would rather just take best prospects. Like, give me your best 3 guys in the farm system, Yankees. Give them to me now. Ohtani's yours.
You're not going to take any draft picks?
I guess I would take, but I want immediate prospects that are going to help me now.
All right. 3 best prospects, 3 number 1 picks. Would you move them?
I would certainly, yeah. I mean, but I'm like you. I want to win. It's in my.
Well, you can't trade. It says here you can't trade draft picks.
Oh,
I'm a baseball casual, so
Oof.
you can't trade draft picks. You'd get the Yankees 3 best prospects. I'm not doing it for that. I'm going to get 3 prospects, and you get the best player in
Well,
baseball.
it's weird if
Okay. You want to know why we're talking training camp this time of year? Because so many people don't give a shit about baseball. Case in point, Colin Cowherd and whoever his guy is now, not knowing that you cannot trade draft picks in Major League Baseball. Oof.
shocker.
Yeah.
I've never understood the allure of him. I like Colin Cowherd's whole thing. I get that he's good at presentation, but and understands how to monetize radio, but I've never understood the appeal.
Me neither. But I mean, I understand. Like baseball, unfortunately, does not move the needle like it used to, and no one even cares to talk about it. You watch any of these, debate shows. It is football, basketball, 24/7. And believe me, we'll get to Draymond and all that stupid shit later. Lastly, a soccer match slated for Levi's Stadium on Saturday night was canceled hours before the kickoff. The Soccer Champions Tour match between FC Barcelona and Juventus, scheduled for 7:30 p.m., was canceled because Barcelona said several of its players came down with a viral illness. Sure they did. They pretended that they had diarrhea so they wouldn't have to play on the terrible field conditions of Levi's Stadium. That's my belief. Now, if you're wondering about refunds for the game, don't worry. All 5 people that paid tickets for the soccer match were given their tickets back.
People like soccer.
Not here.
Yeah, they do. You don't.
I know.
What are you talking about?
So by the way, props to Jesse, your lovely fiance. We were at a barbecue yesterday at Alexander Scott's house. Shout out to A. Scott.
Mhm.
She told me that I should do that joke because I had no idea. You guys know this better than me, but they canceled that event because FC Barcelona just came down with the shits and didn't feel like doing the whole Levi's thing.
Yeah, but it's just such a money grab though, and they don't even with these exhibition matches. It's great to see these big names, but they don't even bring their best players out. Like they had a whole thing with Chelsea versus Wrexham, Rob McElhenney and Ryan Reynolds' team. Chelsea murdered them, and they didn't even use any. They actually used a couple of their new transfer signings, but they don't bring out like the number 1 players. They don't bring out the front 11 or whatever they call it. So, those exhibition matches are just pure money grabs. But yeah, that's just a case of we don't want to play. We don't want to do this right now.
And also, I'm not ignorant. Thank you, Ernie. But I do know that they probably would have a very big turnout for Levi's. I'm just making a joke.
So, let's think. What you just commented on the Shohei thing, the Washington Commanders, and the soccer. Did you see the Messi thing?
There's a new Messi thing?
Well, no, but like, did you see his debut?
No.
Oh, it's going. Oh,
I was
wow.
more concerned about him, shopping at Publix than him actually playing.
Yeah. Well, it was pretty cool. He played in his first match. I forgot the tournament that he was playing in. It wasn't an exhibition. It was against a team from Mexico, but he ended up in his debut kicking the game-winning free kick, and everyone on social media went crazy, like as if they're going to just tune into every single Inter Miami game. Like it's not going to be that exciting every time. I think all of a sudden everyone's a huge MLS fan now because of Messi. It's the reach that he has, but I don't know. I saw a lot of just social. I'm trying to think of like a name for it. Something where we don't watch it, but we purely react on social media, which I did. I did the exact same thing. I quote tweeted.
Isn't that everything now?
Yeah, but like, what do we call that though? When someone or everyone like mass posts something that happens in sports, even though they didn't watch a single second of it live.
Oh,
like I wonder what that is. Bandwagon? Is that bandwagon social media? Do we go with that?
Sure. Call it bandwagon social media, or just people thinking they're doing their jobs now. Like, I thought that was the case a week ago when I saw the clip of Vern Glenn with Aaron Rodgers at the tournament in Tahoe. That clip was about 3 or 4 days old before everybody else started posting it. And guys like Trey Wingo saying, like, well, this guy clearly wants to piss off Aaron Rodgers. We only react to things on social media sometimes where people would realize, actually, Aaron Rodgers or Vern Glenn are actually good friends. Aaron Rodgers respects Vern Glenn. Just growing up in, well, he went to Chico and everything, but
Yeah.
Cal and whatnot. So regardless, yes, Stephen, we have a problem in our society where we just react to things on social media before we actually investigate it.
Don't get me wrong. The Messi thing was awesome.
FOMO, yes. Thank you, Ernie, too.
I mean, it's not even FOMO. I guess we have FOMO of being there, but like, I'm talking about this just wave of
Mutilation?
social media outpouring
Oh.
when something like that happens, even though I bet you like half of the people that posted about it didn't even know Messi was making his debut, and they just saw it. They're like, whoa.
I didn't.
Yeah, I don't know. And plus,
But then
it's
again, I'm
like-
not trying to pretend to be a football fan, and I think a lot of people just comment on shit for the sake of commenting on it.
but it's also really funny watching that because right now, like, I mean, you're putting and connected to what we just talked about with baseball, you're putting Shohei Ohtani against a bunch of like AAA players, what you're getting right now with Messi versus MLS guys.
Very well done, Ernie One.
There you
Fomoot.
go.
Fear of
Fomoot.
missing out on Twitter.
It's a FOMOOT moment. A
I
FOMOOT
like
moment.
that. I like
Fomoot?
that. I like that a lot. You should trademark that, Ernie One.
FOMOOT. It's a FOMOOT moment.
And everyone will not want to have their FOMOOT moment this week when everyone will comment on things at training camp because that's what happens this time of year. NFL training camps are starting up. And let's just get this out of the way, Stephen.
Okay.
This whole week, pick a radio station.
Oh.
There's going to be talk of the Niners quarterback controversy. And I think you and I briefly discussed this a couple months ago, but now's the time to talk about this, I guess. Is there really a quarterback controversy between Brock Purdy, Trey Lance, and Sam Darnold? Because all indications are if Brock Purdy is healthy, and the date that Matt Mayoka has given is, I had it written down here, August 21st. If by August 21st, Brock Purdy is cleared to play, I believe that's 14 days before the NFL season starts, or something like that. Whatever it is, it's a good amount of time before the season starts. Then all indications are, from what we've heard from Kyle Shanahan to John Lynch and everybody involved with the Niners, that Brock Purdy is set to be the starter. So really, what the hell are we talking about here? Is this really more of, is Trey Lance going to be beaten out by Sam Darnold of all people? Very well could. I think that's the more interesting thing of who's the second QB going to be. But as far as a QB controversy, there is none in my opinion. It is Brock Purdy's team.
Trey Lance said it himself. He said that if Purdy's healthy, then he respects the fact that it is his team. And, I actually took a different perspective on Lance and just his future in general. It's not his fault that it played out this way where he gets a severe ankle injury, then the last overall pick in the draft comes in and just lights up the NFL. Like, it's not his fault that happened. But I also think he respects that what Purdy did at the end of the season, well, he could be the backup. But then, like, after hearing, you mentioned Mayoko, and I heard Steve Young on 49ers Talk talking about him. Young tried to make the whole the Star Wars reference, and I kind of like the way that he put it. It's like, basically, he tried to say that he has the it factor without saying that he has the it factor.
He called it the Force.
Called it the Force, even though you can't describe what it is. Yeah, it's the it factor. Like, that's what Purdy has. He has it. And he didn't necessarily say that about Lance, but he also said, he needs to stick around, try to win that job back. And it's just, looking back on Steve Young's career, it's kind of crazy how he didn't start on his track to the Hall of Fame till he turned 30. That's nuts.
Yep.
How, can that happen now? I guess with a guy, because we're just so used to, guys like Mahomes and Allen and Burrow kind of lighting it up. Not necessarily right away. Allen's a little different. Mahomes and Burrow light it up right away, but it took Allen a couple of years. Like, are we just at the point where we're just thinking Lance has no shot? No, I don't think that's what we're saying here. I think that's what's kind of misconstrued about the whole conversation. is that if we say that Purdy's the starter, well, then that means Lance doesn't have any chance at starting ever with the Niners. Like, no, that's not what it is. Purdy is going to start this regular season, and with this unfortunate track record that the 49ers have had, there's probably a solid chance that Lance will play at least in 2 or 3 games this year. like it's just how it works with quarterbacks sometimes. Like the backups come in. So will it be a backup competition? Maybe. But I just think the whole Lance and Purdy conversation, when it starts getting talked about, a lot gets missed in the middle of it, you know?
No, I agree. And to your point, Steve, that you made earlier, do we give quarterbacks enough time? Like Steve Young was an interesting situation because he went to the USFL for a little while and he had the richest contract in sports history, and then had to pay it back once he went to the NFL.
Right.
Crazy. He started his career with the Buccaneers probably in his mid-20s, and then he got to the Niners and then became a starter by 30. But will we even give a guy that time now? Like Sam Darnold's only 26, and people are already saying he's a bust.
Right.
He could rejuvenate his career with the 49ers. I do really think that Kyle Shanahan loves himself some Sam Darnold. To your point of Trey Lance, I'm not ready to say that his time with the Niners is done. But we do talk a lot of shit about training camp talk and whatnot. But the reality is this is going to be very interesting to see how Trey looks different. This is more so the preseason. Like, I don't see Brock Purdy playing a snap in the preseason, just given what's going on with his injury. But as far as Trey Lance and Sam Darnold, if it's apparent that Trey Lance is not still grasping this offense and Sam Darnold's having a better time in it, then you have to make the decision of if Brock's the guy. The real question is, are they going to carry all 3 quarterbacks? And if they're not, who the backup is going to be, and then do they make a move after that point? I think it would be a little premature to move on from Trey Lance at this point because everything that's been said about this guy is that he is a real project. He had limited time in college, and now we kind of have to wait things out for him to get his feet underneath him when he gets to the NFL. So it may take some time, but in today's NFL, no one is that patient. But could it be the case that Trey just has the better upside, and maybe that Kyle, I believe, never wanted him in the first place?
Yeah.
And now he found a guy that is simple, can run the offense the way he wants it. And also there's the rumors about Kirk Cousins in a year. Who knows about that?
Right.
I still think the Minnesota Vikings are a team that would be interested in Trey Lance. Is it possible that they just like the idea of Brock and Sam Darnold together, and they could get better value from trading away Trey Lance? That would be a really shitty move considering what they gave up to get him, but I wouldn't be surprised at this point. I also think it wouldn't be smart to do that just because you did give up all that draft capital to get this quarterback, and you should at least see some things through to see if this guy could be what you expect him to be. Like Brock, he ran the offense last year. He looked great, but also there are some limitations. You and I talked about it after the Raider game. He threw a duck that was picked off by Amick Robertson, and that's where I was like, this guy does not have the arm talent that most quarterbacks need. And a bigger talking point that we'll get to another day is the 49ers have a great roster around them. But are you more comfortable in a team like the Buffalo Bills or the Kansas City Chiefs or the Cincinnati Bengals because they have the it factor at quarterback to actually win a championship as opposed to the Niners when you're facing a 3rd and 15 or a 4th and 15 to win the Super Bowl and Brock Purdy needs to deliver the ball? Do they have that?
Right.
And that's what they may have in Trey Lance.
Yeah.
It's not out of the realm of possibilities. I know I'm rambling here, but it's not out of the realm of possibilities that Brock Purdy comes out, doesn't perform, and then Trey Lance comes in. There's so many scenarios, but as far as just a controversy, the season will start with Brock Purdy if all indications are right with his elbow.
But there's no guarantee that he's going to be the same Brock Purdy that he was these last 6 games last year. It's just different. Like, we talked about a little bit of the barbecue yesterday, but it's different with these guys who literally have zero pressure attached to them when they come in for the season. Like Purdy, when he came in, it really was like, all right, well, you know, you don't really even have to prove yourself. You got nothing to lose. Just come in and don't mess this up. And then he excelled and exceeded that. But Like, there's no guarantee that when he's coming in this year, knowing that he's a franchise guy, knowing that it's his job to lose, that mindset's different. And that's a test that's a test for the mind, for the mental, that, still Brock Purdy seemed to live up to that last year. He seemed pretty mentally tough going into the playoffs, but it's a whole different thing when you got to play 17 games and you got to lead your team for the entire way the regular season. Like, I look at and compared to Trey Lance, I was trying to think of a guy. I think like Geno Smith, at least with the way that his career's gone, is a guy that you can look to and just say, well, it's not impossible for a guy to exceed the age of 30, maybe have the beginning of his career not pan out.
But is it Kim possible, Stephen?
I think it can. I think Lance can excel way earlier than that, but it's not like it can't happen in today's NFL. Like, it absolutely can, where guys just have struggles to start their career, and then eventually they find their way.
Yeah. And Ernie actually on the chat here says, don't they have 3 backup QBs? Well, I don't know if he's referencing that in the sense that there are
the emergency quarterback rule.
Yeah, emergency quarterback rule, where I don't know if they want to go into the season with 3 quarterbacks on the roster. It may just be good to have a backup like who's their guy right now? Not Nate Sudfeld. He was there a year ago, but there's a 4th string guy on the roster currently that's been talked about a lot.
Man, his name's escaping.
Yeah, he backed up Joe Burrow last year, but
right.
Regardless, he could be the emergency guy. Like, do you really want it to be? And I don't think Kyle will be opposed to this, but maybe the player would be. Do you think that we want to see, an emergency 3rd string quarterback that's going to be Trey Lance or Sam Darnold that for most of the time is going to be in street clothes, or, only gets in the game when your 1st string quarterback goes down? Like, that's what's going to, like, if that happens, it won't be a huge deal with Sam Darnold. But if Trey Lance becomes a 3rd string quarterback and he's the guy that only gets in if there's a emergency situation, then people are going to be like, what the hell's going on here?
Yeah, but it would be worth it. I wouldn't be surprised, though, with what happened last year, that they would just keep it just in case. Like, because you'd eventually just have, like, I don't know, like a Josh Johnson type as the 3rd string backup, and they want to pull out all the stops. So do they want to keep a 3rd quarter? I'd be surprised if they do, but I also wouldn't be if they didn't.
I wouldn't be surprised either. I just think that it would be more of a media thing than an actual thing. Like, I think the Niners are going to do everything they can to help this guy and, not put a lot of pressure on him right away, because he is, he's green. Jordan Love, how many years did it take before he's going to be the starter now? Three full seasons, or 4 actually. 2020, 2021. No, not 3. You're right. So it may take some time, and this will be year 3 of Trey Lance too. So it's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting to see what happens here. And it's Brandon Allen is the name of the 4th string quarterback for the Niners right now.
Gotcha.
But do you have something to say?
Yeah, and the reason that it's going to be talked about a lot too is because everything else for the Niners is set in stone. Unlike a lot of other teams, like, there's not really going to be much. There's not going to be such thing as like a training camp battle for the starting job. Like, they know who their starters are going to be. It's not like anyone is going to win or lose their job based on this. They have their starting 22 set. Like, they know who's 11 on offense, 11 on defense. It's not like maybe on the opposite side of Nick Bosa as an edge rusher. Like, apparently that's Drake Jackson's job to lose. Maybe there, but other than that,
maybe Cleveland Farrell.
Maybe, like, I don't know. Their 3rd round safety, Jair Brown. Like, I guess maybe he could be fighting for that spot with, oh gosh, his name's escaping me right now.
Deshaun Gibson.
Yes, Deshaun Gibson, and maybe he's fighting for that one. But seems like it's kind of this trading camp is just like, let's just get through it and get to the regular season, because we already know who these. We do this a lot where we talk about all these players and we put such a focus on them. And then you get to the regular season and then you realize, oh, wait a second, we did so much conversation on that, so much discourse around these players, and they're not even playing right now. Like, it doesn't even matter because they already have their starters set.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting when we get to preseason games and how people are going to evaluate Trey Lance versus Sam Darnold, where we've seen Trey Lance perform well in the preseason. That's nothing new. We saw him in the first preseason game he played. There was the Trey area touchdown pass to Trent Sherfield. And then a year ago, he threw that great, long touchdown pass to Danny Gray. But that never really translated anything in the regular season. We never see him do anything that he's done in the preseason. So I don't think any of that stuff's going to really matter. I think it's just going to be when Trey gets the opportunity, is he going to take, all of is he going to show what everybody thinks of him, that why he was taken third overall?
Yeah.
And I don't know if he's going to get that opportunity this season, because what do you think is the best case scenario for the Niners at QB this season? If Brock Purdy's the starter, what is the best case scenario?
What do you mean?
So Brock Purdy is your starter week 1.
Right.
You got Trey Lance as the potential backup and Sam Darnold as the third stringer. What if the Niners have a successful season? As far as the QB position, what is the best case scenario? That Brock Purdy starts all 17 games?
I mean, yeah. That's the best case.
So then are Niner fans rooting for Trey Lance to not see the field this year? Not rooting for it, but like that's break glass in case of emergency. Like the hope is that Brock Purdy is the guy, and we never have to go back to Trey Lance.
Wow. I mean, you don't want your starting quarterback to fail.
Of course not. But are Niner fans hoping that he gets in at some point, and they like there is a little bit of controversy? Because I just don't see that as an actual thing at this point.
I think so. I think some are hoping for that. Yeah.
Then I guess the better question is, what are Niner fans hoping with Trey Lance? That he takes over the job at some point? That Brock doesn't do well? Like, basically, are Niner fans rooting for Trey to be the guy or for Brock to be the guy?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. That's something you have to ask the people who are riding hard for Trey Lance and want him to actually. It's an interesting question. It's an interesting question.
I think that if you ask the Niners and Kyle Shanahan specifically what the best case scenario for the Niners is that Brock Purdy starts all 17 games and he gets better from what he was a year ago.
Right.
And then they can figure out what they're going to do with Trey. Trey is still learning. They honestly are sitting pretty right now where they could either have him be the backup and grow and mature, and then eventually, if for whatever reason Brock is not the guy, then they could try it out with Trey. There really is no time frame of when they need to do this. They got to pick up a fifth-year option and everything. But there's time to grow Trey Lance. Or they just realize that he doesn't fit at all, and they're going to trade him for some value. Now, it won't be the same value that they traded to get him, but at least they're getting something for him. There are quarterback-needy teams every year. I believe that Kirk Cousins, this is going to be his last season with the Vikings. I would not be the least bit surprised if the Vikings, they win enough games to be out of the Caleb Williams sweepstakes, and they need to get another quarterback, and this is their option with Trey Lance.
Yeah.
I also think that Kyle loves himself some Sam Darnold a lot, and if he has questions about Purdy, or obviously he has questions about Trey Lance, at least this guy that he's wanted for a long time is willing to put his ego aside and be a third-string quarterback or a backup quarterback. Basically, what we know about Kyle from listening to the playmakers is that he loves his own scheme. And that's okay. That's fine. He'd rather have a QB that he could dial it up with. He doesn't need to be a guy that can throw 40 touchdowns a season, just a guy that gets first downs. And that's, a little bit different than most NFL teams. Like I just said, like the Niners have a good everything else besides quarterback. I think the quarterback position is fine, but it's not great. And that's what could hold them back against these other great teams like the Bills, the Chiefs, even the Eagles,
Yeah.
So it's interesting. I don't think the QB debate is interesting because I think it's Brock Purdy's team, but I do wonder what the Niners franchise and what the Niners fans want. Do they really want Brock to be injury-free this entire season and be the guy? Or is there still a little bit of hope that Trey Lance finds a way to get this job?
If it means winning, then they'll be fine with it. If it doesn't, then that's where a lot of the talking, the loudest voices about Trey, they'll be loudest towards the end of the season if Purdy doesn't look like the Purdy that he was for these 6 games. Like, that's the thing too. Purdy, he set the bar high for himself, man. I think there's very high expectations that this is going to be a Super Bowl team, and he's just in his second year, which is crazy to think about.
Yeah.
Like we'll be good with just going deep into the playoffs. It feels like that's what it is for every other team. These expectations are Super Bowl. It feels like it's a Super Bowl or bust mindset with Purdy. That's the funny part.
Oh, I think it's Super Bowl or bust for this team, considering that they were on the doorstep the last 2 seasons of a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And that always happens. You had with the Eagles when they lost conference championships, they went out and got Terrell Owens, so they would never have to lose the NFC Championship game. And the irony was they went there without him. Well, they got the Super Bowl with him, but they won the NFC Championship game without him. I don't know if Brock is the X factor, the changing, thing that's going to make them that much better. The Force, yes, as Steve Young put it. I don't know if he's
Skywalker. He's Han Solo. He's Chewbacca. He's everything. He's the Force.
God, I love Steve.
He was listing off every Star Wars character. He's
Princess
Leia. He's Emperor Palpatine. He's got the Force.
He's my man. Who's
my guy?
Who's my guy? No, I got it. He's everybody. He's Lando Calrissian. I can't even say his last name. Lando has. Yeah, he says his last name. Calrissian.
Calrissian. Yeah.
Hello, Chewbacca. Played by the great Billy D. Williams.
Oh my God. Yeah. He's Han Solo. He's Luke Skywalker. He's everything. He's the Force.
Yeah.
It's so good.
Steve's great. And I loved his whole thing about it. And there's people out there that are saying that Trey Lance can't do it. Why? You're basing it off of one season at North Dakota State? Get out of here.
Yeah, he was really. It's an interesting. Well, that's what's interesting about his comments. It's like he says one thing about Lance, which is he should wait it out, try to, compete for that job, act like it's his job, try to take that job, but maintain that level of professionalism that you need as a backup. But also, he could be a starter anywhere, and anyone who's saying he can is an idiot. But then he also says Brock Purdy has the Force. So he's not saying Lance is going to be the starter this year. He's just more, I think he's just not losing sight of that Lance can be good. But I think he's also saying in the same way, yeah, but Purdy has that different. He has the Force.
I don't think that he has the Force. I think that Purdy just understands the offense better than Trey did a year ago.
I don't think that's necessarily true, man. I think he showed I think he showed last year that he's got a lot of veteran qualities just with seeing the field. And sure, he runs the offense well, but man, throwing it into tight windows, not being afraid of possibly making mistakes. But it is running the offense number one. But I also think there's that level of, because that's what Jimmy Garoppolo did. Jimmy Garoppolo just ran the offense. But Purdy has that extra level of, but I can extend this play. I can do something else based on what the defense is giving me. I'm not just going to, like what Garoppolo did. I learned this from Lowe. This is like, there are two things that really stuck out as far as what Lowe taught me about football. Number one was on that play with Dre Greenlaw, the sack at the yard line against the Seahawks. He told me to watch Richard Sherman on that play and just how Richard Sherman impacted it, even though he was off the ball. That's number one. But number two was speaking on Jimmy and his interceptions. It's like, it's him going with the system. It's not like he's just looking at these guys directly and throwing it into the linebacker's hands, which is what it seems like. No, he's just throwing it where the receiver's meant to be. And the defense kind of put the receiver out of their route, out of their rhythm. So I think that Purdy is able to extend things a little better than Garoppolo and say, oh, maybe I shouldn't go with what the system is telling me right here, and I'm going to make another secondary play.
No doubt, and I think that's amazing that he realized that in his first season. But there are limitations that I think that
Yeah,
Brock Purdy has.
I said that very forcefully. Yeah.
It's the polar opposite, where Brock Purdy, I think, mentally understands what he needs to do in Kyle's scheme. Now, does he extend plays and kind of improvise when he needs to? Yes. Trey has all the physical attributes that fans have been clamoring for a long time, but does he understand how the offense needs to be
That's
grasped?
the thing.
Yes.
That's the thing.
Or no.
We have the 1A and 1B, right? Purdy can run the offense and make that extra play. Seems like Lance has the ability to do that after the snap and make a play all on his own, whether it's with his legs or with his really strong arm. But can he grasp the 1A aspect? Can he grasp the simple concept or not the simple concept, the simple idea of running the concepts that Shanahan throws out there? I don't know. I still think that's a question that's left to be answered.
And does Kyle really want to do the RG3 thing again? Where really, I don't think that Trey's in the same camp as that, but there will be a running element to his game. But also, Kyle loves to run the football. So if you have the illusion of complexity on offense, as was discussed numerous times on the Playmakers podcast, if you have the threat of Trey Lance and Christian McCaffrey, or even Deebo Samuel, who I think time will be coming to an end with how much money he's making. Not in this season, but maybe down the line, maybe next season. Don't you want to have that with both guys running the football very well? Yeah. And Trey will learn how to throw, and understand the offense a lot better. It'll be interesting. It'll be very interesting to see what happens. But as far as a QB controversy, it's Brock's team right now. I don't see anything changing. If for whatever reason Brock's timeline gets fucked up with how he's recovering from the UCL tear, then we'll revisit this conversation. But as far as the starting quarterback, week 1 against Pittsburgh, it's going to be Brock Purdy.
Yeah, no doubt. By the way, I got the Ernie's. Just hitting us with
quoting low.
He got a ton of lowisms, and we got the stick to my hip and dip, something like that. Yeah, stick to my hip and don't dip, Daddy. Let's ride. Oh, that guy.
That's what he would tell LT, right?
Hey, have you seen Lowe lately? He's looking pretty in the He's looking pretty in the face and slim in the waist.
I haven't. He's doing the TV, the KPIX halftime stuff for the Raiders, but I haven't seen him recently. No.
Yeah, he's looking good, man. Anyway.
Yeah. Lowe always looked good.
No, he didn't. He's fat.
Just like you.
You know what's funny, man, is I had
John Gruden, apparently, from Daniel Snyder.
I'll dribble your head off the asphalt, man.
Did that piss him off? I'm sorry.
After we had that conversation with like the whole Lowe call me fat thing, I got like a call maybe like an hour later that was a no caller ID, and that's a Lowe special right there. He never had his number show up.
Yep.
And so I was like, oh no. And I was like, did I do something? Did I piss him off? Like, what did I do? And then it turned out it wasn't him.
Okay.
Yeah, it was just our maintenance people.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. We had our sorry to get off subject here, but we have our drawers in the kitchen, and they don't close all the way. They just keep on, you close them, then they slowly just open back up again. So I called the maintenance people. He came by. It worked for like an hour. And now it's back to just, you know how many times I bumped my leg into it and I got like bruises on my thigh based off of an open drawer?
Can we see those too, Steven? Your thigh bruises?
My thighs?
Well, I hope you get that rectified.
Thanks, man.
Another storyline that you will probably be looking for at Niners training camp is Nick Bosa and whether or not he's going to get that new contract.
Ooh.
Most likely will, but I was surprised by this. Matt Mayoko actually last week said that he would not be surprised. So the Niners report to training camp on Tuesday. He would not be surprised if Nick Bosa reports but holds in until he gets
the old hold in.
Yeah, like Deebo did it a year ago. where he was just off to the side. Jimmy awkwardly did that a year ago too, where they were trying to find a new team for him. But yeah, I find that hard to believe just because Nick Bosa is just, a grinder and loves to play football. But if he's in line to get the biggest contract for a defensive player, maybe his agent's telling him just chill a little bit. Don't have to cause a scene. Just show up to training camp, and then once we cut this deal, then we could get you playing.
Yeah, hold in is a little different. TJ Watt, right? He held in. I think
TJ Watt held in too. Yep.
Yeah, that was a hold in thing. So that's
the hold in thing is
sounds weird.
Well, it's weird in the sense that I'm here, I'm being a good sport, but I'm not putting my body on the line until I actually get paid.
That's all it is. You're just
Yeah.
waiting.
I mean, I understand it, but also that's what led to Debo saying he wasn't in shape a year ago.
Right. Well,
And-
I don't think Bosa's
And the
gonna be
Jimmy
the
thing
same
was
way.
so awkward, and that he wasn't practicing with the team, and they, it was really coddling towards Trey to not have Jimmy show him up if he's not even going to be on the team.
I forgot about that.
Yeah, and then he came back.
Yeah, just working out on the special teams field. It's so bizarre.
Speaking of Jimmy, that will not be the case. There was the whole freak out. Mike Florio had everybody freaking out that there was an addendum in the contract with the Raiders that if he does not pass a physical, they could just cut his ass. And then they're up Schitt's Creek with Brian Hoyer and Aiden O'Connell. Everybody doesn't need to freak out. We'll have Jimmy Garoppolo. Don't you worry. Don't you worry. Jimmy Garoppolo passes physical today, and he is going to report to Raiders training camp. And it's all indications are he will be good to go to hit the field come Tuesday or Wednesday.
Good.
I think the report. Well, they report today, I guess. So maybe they're in the field in a few days here. But it sounds like Jimmy Garoppolo has healed from the broken foot, and he will be practicing with Devontae Adams, and everything will be kumbaya for Josh McDaniels.
Yeah, they need that. I don't believe in the idea because I really think I thought McDaniels had the idea that he doesn't need training camp. Like I've had him on my team before. He knows what we need to do. Like
Hell
I
no.
thought
Jimmy
that
needs
was the
training
thing,
camp.
but you need training camp. We talked about that. So good. Like if any, I'm not expecting much. I'm not expecting, a 10-win season. I'm not. But good Lord, if you're going to at least do this thing without Derek Carr, give him a training camp first to work with these new guys.
Dude, everyone needs training camp. I keep bringing up this example, but if we saw anything a year ago from Matthew Stafford and the whole shoulder thing, you need to practice in training camp. That's why you're on the same page with everybody else. Preseason's a different deal. I would argue that guys should play a little more preseason now, seeing everything that's gone on. Like there are some good examples of guys not playing preseason, and then there's bad examples. I thought that we had slow-ass football the first 4 or 5 weeks of the season, and then things started to pick up. But I understand you don't want guys getting hurt in preseason, but everyone needs to practice come training camp time. And just because Jimmy Garoppolo knows the offense doesn't mean that he's going to, is he still going to put up more points than Mahomes every week? No. So he needs to be there. And same question to ask you, Steven. What's the best case scenario for the Raiders quarterback-wise this season? Is it just Jimmy Garoppolo playing a full 17 games and throwing for, I don't know, his usual stat line of 20-something touchdowns, less than 4,000 yards passing? And if we're relying on the running game, the bigger question, like we avoided the whole thing with Jimmy Garoppolo, he'll be there. But now the biggest question for Raiders training camp is, when the hell is Josh Jacobs going to be there?
Right. Yeah, I'm not even worried about Jimmy. Like the quarterback situation is just him being healthy. Like that's the optimal move there. But with Jacobs, that's the number one thing. And I think they've kind of fractured that relationship. It's hard to see them come back from it, kind of like they did with Derek Carr.
You think it's the same thing?
I think it's similar in that it's like, okay, you're not going to pay me my money after what I just did for you last season. I think Jacobs took it personally.
I get that. Considering that he was playing on a prove-it deal last year and they're asking him to do it all over again, especially with leading the league in rushing. It kind of sucks. But as far as, as I said before, like what is the game plan here? They can't get a new deal. So just holding out between him and Saquon, it's just because they're pissed off. I know there was a Zoom chat with all the running backs in NFL between Saquon, Josh Jacobs, Austin Eckler, Derrick Henry, Christian McCaffrey, who doesn't have to worry about his money situation for a little bit of time here, but eventually, it will happen. What I understand they're all upset, but I really don't know what's going to change. None of these, at the end of the day, all these owners like money and they don't want to give it up, and it's a greedy business. Maybe the NFLPA helps in some way, but I don't really know how. No one can force them to say, well, you got to give running backs a certain amount of money. No one's going to change the franchise tag. I saw RG3 throw that out there. Marshall Faulk went on Rich Eisen's show and said some ridiculous things. I understand he's upset, but it sucks. Believe me, I don't think it's fair, but I don't see it changing either.
Nah, I don't. What do you think about this? Let's just say it doesn't work out with Jacobs and they just pull the franchise tag, which they can.
Yeah.
What if they signed Dalvin Cook to a 1-year deal?
Well, is Dalvin Cook going to settle for less than what Josh Jacobs was going to get?
I don't know. That's
the thing. It's a never-ending thing. Like the thing with Dalvin Cook right now is he's waiting for some team to offer him more than what he's been offered. Between, it sounds like, the Dolphins, Jets, and Patriots, he has not been given a deal that he likes. And the most money that's been given out so far this free agency period has been to like David Montgomery with the Lions for $6 million a year. And Dalvin Cook has made it be known that he wanted the same money he was due with the Vikings at $10 million. And I don't think anyone's going to give him that money. That's why there's all the reports of, well, the Raiders are trying to get a deal done with Josh Jacobs. The Giants are trying to get a deal done with Saquon Barkley. And the reality is they probably were like, 10 million's enough. We're not going to do shit. I'm sure it's the guaranteed stuff that they don't like that we talked about, but I don't think teams are budging. I think some teams think 10 million is too much for a running back. Yeah, so the bigger thing is Jimmy's good to go, and who knows what the expectations are for him quarterback-wise. You can't make me believe that he's the future or Aiden O'Connell's the future, but then again, we scoffed at Brock Purdy a year ago, so who knows?
What's Darren McFadden up to?
I don't know.
Maybe they could sign him to a 1-year deal. I don't know. I'm trying to think of any retired running backs. What's Devontae Freeman doing? I haven't heard his name in a while.
Yeah, I mean, we're getting into 30, the low end of the 30-year-old running backs here you're talking about.
Yeah, well, you know what? It seems like those
Darren McFadden might be 40 now.
Is he? What's he up to? What's Lamont Jordan up to? No, what are these guys? Marcel Reese. He's not with the team in the front office anymore. Give him a chance at running back.
Yeah, where's Huggy Bear? Justin Fargas.
I need that. McFadden would be 35. So
okay. I mean, yeah,
he's still got some in the age of the. He's still got some left in the tank, man.
Yeah, when you're a running back, though, I'm not so sure. And that's the argument. That's the argument they're making.
Ooh,
but yeah,
Latavius Murray. That's a good one.
He's on the Buffalo Bills.
Well, trade for him.
No.
Ooh, bring Frank Gore. Good, nice. I like that, Ernie. Frank Gore's a good one.
Do you forget Frank Gore's a little bit of trouble lately these days?
Oh yeah, that's right.
I'm sorry, I'm poking a hole in all your running back ideas.
You're kind of just shooting down a dream, Derek.
Well, yeah, and I hate to be a dream squasher.
You're asking me what the Raiders have to do, and in reality, I don't have an answer for you, but I'm giving you some.
Well, the reality is that, okay, Jimmy's just going to be Jimmy, and whatever happens with the quarterback situation, it is what it is. But hopefully he's healthy for a full 17 games, and the Raiders don't have to rely on Brian Hoyer or Aiden O'Connell.
Yeah.
But the bigger question is what's going to happen with Josh Jacobs.
Right.
And I wouldn't be the least bit surprised if things don't get rectified. I mean, I still believe that Saquon and Josh Jacobs are going to play because I saw the whatever podcast Saquon went on, Money Matters, where he was like, I could just say, fuck the Giants and not play this season, but then I'm fucking my teammates over. You're fucking yourself over if you do that, Saquon.
Well, that's the thing is, are they, though? Are they screwing themselves over? Are they?
Yes, because if anything we learned from Le'Veon Bell, the man who has made a lot of bad choices in his life, just recently said, I made a huge mistake by doing that.
Yeah.
Don't do that. Whenever you're running back, you lose a year of your career faster than any other position, and that's why they don't want to pay you. And it's unfair, but don't do that to yourself.
But sacrifices need to be made in order for change, Derek. Because they just keep on going. You're going to further acquiesce to the establishment.
And the sad reality is the Giants and Raiders will gladly go forth with Zamir White and Matt Breida. That's just the reality.
Hmm.
And they will try to prove their point to you that, yes, you guys are great playmakers. You're better than the guys we currently have. But if we have to roll with these other guys, they're lesser players, but we'll survive.
Yeah, it is how it's working nowadays, but it's just unfair, man. It is unfair. By the way, Will Compton with the tweet of the day. He says because I think it was, who was it that's putting together the Zoom call for the running backs? I think
Austin Eckler.
It was Austin Eckler.
Yeah.
Yeah, Will Compton just tweeted out. I'm going to put it up on the screen here. Pull up game strong. Putting together a Zoom call for all the off the ball LBs. The pay gap between us and other defensive position groups is getting too substantial, given that we are the nucleus of the defense. We're expected to cover like safeties, sacrifice our bodies in the run game like linemen, tell everyone what to do, and also take on the most responsibility in meetings as the signal caller. Time to get us all on the same page, because it hasn't been sitting right with me for a while. Hence why I've been holding out since the conclusion of the 2022 season.
How many characters is that?
I don't even know what the character limit is anymore on.
Yeah,
Twitter.
I don't know either.
It's
So
genius.
what? So what? That's Will Compton and David Mayo in a Zoom call together.
Yeah, genius.
He's funny. He's funny. That's another podcast I should give more time to. I haven't listened to Bussin' with the Boys at all.
It could be a little much, but it's they do solid interviews because guys really open up to them. Like, I recommend go back and watch Christian McCaffrey's. It's like the most personality I've ever seen him like display to the media.
I saw that one. Vrabel's been on. Dave Ziegler's been on. Yeah, no, it's a good podcast. But Rich Eisen refuses to go on because the bus has no motor.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
And I respect everything Rich Eisen's done. You know, he's been in this industry forever.
Everything?
Pretty much. Not. I mean,
Okay.
I don't know about everything. Is there stuff that he did? Because you seem to know the ins and outs of everybody's personal lives as well that I don't.
No, he
Potentially.
stand-up individual. Just never said hi to me in NFL Network.
Oh, okay, right. There you go. Yeah. Shout out Rick Bucher. Never said hi to me either when I was working at 95. No, he laughs too much. It's like, hey, ease up on the laughing. The stuff that your Gus say, it's funny, but it's not laugh out loud, lay back in your chair, clap. It's not that funny. Ease up
Well,
on the laughing, Rich.
I mean, in this game, when you have a guest on and they say something slightly funny, you have to kiss their ass.
I know it's the worst. I do that.
It happens all the time. And when, like, everyone thinks that, Steve Kerr in a press conference, people will just go crazy. And I love Steve, but even Steve will be like, calm down.
Yeah.
Anthony Slater, control yourself.
Yeah, there's one laugh drop that I used to use on 95.7. It was just a group of people going after Steve just made some self-deprecating joke.
Who's more likely to be on the Raiders this season? Josh Jacobs or Hunter Renfrow?
Oh, gosh. Hunter Renfrow?
You think so?
Yeah, I think so. I don't think teams are really looking for Hunter Renfrow right now. He's good, but didn't do much last year.
I'm going to say the opposite. I do think that Josh Jacobs comes back, and while it sucks for him, the best thing for him to do is play this season, and the Raiders will gladly have him play. I think with the additions of Philip Dorsett and DeAndre Carter,
yeah,
shout
out to Fremont.
The slot position for the Raiders is interesting right now. And while Hunter Renfrow to me is better than those two guys, and those guys may have more speed, Hunter Renfrow is a better receiver. But all indications we've seen is that Josh McDaniels is not thrilled with the guys that aren't there health-wise. That's the big reason why Darren Waller was traded away.
But isn't this why training camp is there, though?
What's up?
Isn't this why training camp is there?
No, and I think it's going to be a storyline going into it. Is like, I think Hunter Renfrow will be there for, a month or two, and then we'll figure things out. But there will be trades made during, before the season and training camp. Guys, figure out this guy doesn't fit our team. So if I had to pick, I would say Josh Jacobs will be on the Raiders, while Hunter Renfrow most likely will be traded to a different team.
Interesting.
That's what I think. I know everything seems that Josh McDaniels, while he took over this roster, is not happy with it and wants it molded in his Patriot style. And also from listening to Julian Edelman on the New Heights podcast, it seems to me that the Patriots all respected Josh McDaniels in his own way, and it's just going to take some time. Like, I'll tell Raider fans right away, like, this is a conversation we'll have more. But if the Raiders don't have a good season, don't act like Josh McDaniels is going to get fired. He's there. Him and Dave Ziegler, they're running this thing for a while now. So it's going to take some time for them to get this thing going. And maybe it won't equate to wins. Who knows? But Mark Davis is definitely going to give them the benefit of the doubt. And he's got the keys to the franchise. This is very similar in the way that John Gruden had full range.
Right.
It's not a 10-year contract, but Josh will be given his time to try to make this team the Patriots. Yeah.
I'm reading something right now that from Mike Florio that said Jacobs was just as pissed. Sources told him from the Zoom call last night that Jacobs was more pissed than really any of the other guys on that call. So solid chance that he's not even going to show up. I know what you're saying is logical, sure, but like these guys have dignity, you know?
No, believe me, I get that, but I can't see them sacrificing. I mean, $10 million is still $10 million. But I understand. It's a slap in the face. It's a total slap in the face. I get it. But you're going to sacrifice a year of your career for this?
Some guys feel
you can easily tell the Raiders they can't tag you 2 years in a row. You could tell them fuck off. I'll run for you again. Although the worst case is, I remember this happened to Earl Thomas. He wanted a new contract. He didn't get one. Then he broke his leg and he flipped off Pete Carroll while he was getting carted away. You remember that?
Oh, I remember.
Yeah.
That was against the Cardinals, wasn't it?
Yep. And I was like, damn. And I remember Pete Carroll in the press conference like, yeah, I have no idea what that's about. Yeah, you do. Yeah, you do, Pete.
Yeah.
It's a dirty business. It's a dirty business. Steven, do you want my top 5 non-Niner Raider training camp storylines?
Oh, boy.
You're damn right you do.
All right.
Cue up the music. All right.
Number 5.
Number 5. Here we go. I brought this up earlier, but this is... I do love training camp time, but it's not real football yet. Neither is preseason.
Number 4.
We all get duped.
Hurry up.
I'm going to hurry it up. Basically, how much bullshit are we going to see during training camp? How much practice highlights are we going to get? How much stats are we going to get? It's ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
Matt Mayoko is going to come on with us tomorrow, and the first question I would love for them to ask is, what's the record for passing yards at a single practice? Because this is the Cam Inmans of the world, the Matt Mayokos. I love these guys, and it's not their fault. But the stat taking in tweets of practices, it's got to stop. And I don't care about the highlights of what guys did in practice. Trey Lance had amazing throws in practice. He had terrible throws in practice. People in general, NFL fans, don't get sucked in by this stupid training camp content.
Number 3.
Number 4.
Number 5. Number 4.
How much are we going to get tired of the Jets? Between all the content that we're going to see on ESPN and NFL Network, they will be the hot team in training camp, and we're going to see them on Hard Knocks. I actually was watching the old Hard Knocks the other day, the 2010 one. That one was entertaining, but man, were they fucking arrogant. Just Rex Ryan and Mike Tannenbaum, they were dealing with the Darrelle Revis holdout. Regardless, how sick are we going to get of the Jets even before the season starts? How quick do you think it's going to be?
I'm already sick of them.
Yeah.
I'm already done seeing Sauce Gardner versus Garrett Wilson highlights. It's fantastic. Yep. Good stuff. They're great. They're great players. Sauce Gardner could be one of the best cornerbacks ever. Don't want to see it in training camp, though. Want to see them in the regular season against other players.
All right, I'm with you. Okay, number 3. The holdouts themselves between Saquon Barkley and Josh Jacobs, and the other one that happened yesterday that's kind of under the radar, Chris Jones. Quinnen Williams just got paid. I think he's the second most paid defensive tackle in football. I could be wrong on that one. But you best believe Chris Jones wants to make the second most money, probably to Aaron Donald. So, how long is this going to take? It'd be interesting to see. And, Kansas City Chiefs coming back for a Super Bowl and they don't have their best defensive player. They'll get it done probably, but as long as, this is a problem, it could impact them. But then again, I don't think it's going to be enough where the Chiefs will not be as good as is going to be worse than the Raiders. So something to look out for. Number 2. Who is going to get paid first between Joe Burrow and Justin Herbert? Both of their teams right now are, playoff contenders. And Justin Herbert's team, the Chargers, spent a lot more money on guys, big-name guys, Joey Bosa, Khalil Mack. And now they got to pay the quarterback. And how much is that going to be a detriment to them in the future as far as the salary cap? Same thing with Joe Burrow. They got Jamar Chase on the team, and they got T. Higgins, who's going to be a free agent. So it'll be interesting to see which quarterback gets paid more or first. You would think that Joe Burrow deserves to get paid more of what he's accomplished so far in this league as opposed to Justin Herbert. But does Justin Herbert have more of the intangibles that people like as opposed to Joe Burrow? Both of them got drafted the same year. When will both of them get their contracts, and which guy will get paid first?
Ooh. Burrow.
And number 1. Finally, number 1. When the hell is Dalvin Cook going to sign with a goddamn team? We're playing, we're not playing, but we're having teams report this week, and this guy just got done with his his football camp in Minnesota. He said he's going to take his sweet time, and I don't blame him because if Saquon Barkley and Josh Jacobs are holding out to get better deals, why wouldn't Dalvin Cook at this point? So that may be a thing that we wait for a while with him so he could preserve his body and not have to have it banged up in training camp.
What if he goes to the Buccaneers? I hope he goes to the Buccaneers because that's like the worst rushing team in the NFL, and it'd be really funny if it was disappointing to you to watch another star position player you wait all year and then he signs with the Bucs or some team that sucks at running the football.
Yeah, that would be disappointing. I'm not even going to entertain that right now because that would be just a total boner kill like the fucking DeAndre Hopkins deal was.
Sign with the Texans. You got Bobby Slowick there. He'll get you open. You got Laramie Tunsil, CJ Stroud.
Yeah, but they already got Damian Pierce and Devin Singletary.
That's right. I forgot about Damian Pierce. It's good stuff.
You can kill the music.
Oh.
Yeah. So those are your storylines for training camp.
God, man, you have me just
all on Twitter.
I gotta find a way to watch NFL Network. I don't get it here, but I gotta find a way so I can pay attention to this stuff day to day. Make sure that I'm on top of all of it.
Well, do you want my NFL Plus login?
I actually have one.
Okay, I don't. I knew not to get that. Huge scam. Huge scam.
Hey man, we got the top 100 players coming up, baby.
Yeah, but isn't that just going to be on NFL Network?
It's NFL Plus, but yeah.
I'll just record that. Yeah. I'm watching. And are you going to watch the 7 hours of the Back Together again next weekend?
Of the what?
They do the thing every year where they have the cameras on each training camp, and it's like, we got football again, guys. And they put Scott Hansen in some location with Willie McGinnis, although I'm sure Willie McGinnis won't be a part of it this year because he's beat up too many people.
Yeah. You shouldn't have said anything bad about USC, bro.
But are you going to watch any of that?
No.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe, but
I'll have it on, but also it's like, again, it's tease. This whole time period is just tease.
Look, man, I got a big season coming up. I'm on my second season of Road to the Show. Tadahito Twinkle Toes. He hit 170 last year. Only led the Flying Squirrels in home runs and RBIs. I want to capitalize on that nice little rookie season I had in Double-A and try and get promoted.
Say what now?
I got a Road to the Show account on. It will be the Show 23. I'm trying to get my guy promoted to the bigs. His name's Tadahito Twinkle Toes.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't blame you for that. That's probably actually sounds more entertaining than whatever NFL Network's putting up this weekend. Before we end this thing, I guess we got to acknowledge this. Draymond going on Pat Bev's podcast and talking about the punch. You sent this to me, Steven. We were talking about what did Jordan Poole say to Draymond that would trigger this emotion. And I thought this was done. Both guys have moved on. Draymond got his deal. Jordan Poole went to a new team. He's going to be a starter. And you could probably blame Pat Beverly for bringing this up. But Draymond could have just said, yeah, we moved on. You know, we're grown men. He also loves using the term amongst men.
Yeah.
We'll get to that a little later. But
little later.
Well, as part of the conversation.
Oh.
But as far as just the clip, Draymond saying what triggered the punch between him
Hang on.
And Jordan Poole, as I filibuster until Steven has
Oh,
the
crap. I
audio.
closed it. Hang on. Hang on. I'm getting it back. I accidentally hit home on the I hit home on the thing. All right. We are good to where are we at, bro? Oh, okay. We're good.
I don't just hit people. Dialogue, of course, happens over time, and you usually ain't just triggered by something like that fast, to that degree. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is a team. You know what I'm saying? Like, ain't nobody on my team triggering me. In an instant. We know stuff that you don't say amongst men. You know what I'm saying? We know things that you have to stand on. I don't just hit.
Okay.
So the conversation, went on, and Draymond said that he's wishing nothing but the best for Jordan Poole. He also said that he looks forward to Chris Paul being on the team, and he realizes that him and Chris Paul didn't have the best relationship for the most part during their respective careers, but also he likes that Chris Paul is kind of a dick in the same way that he's a dick. That's what Steve Kerr said to him. So he looks forward to that, and he looks forward to playing with, quote, another adult, which is a subtle jab, I guess, towards Jordan Poole. Then Jordan Poole's dad clapbacked and said something along the lines of, I don't know.
Sad.
I forget what he said. What?
It's sad.
It is sad. It is sad.
Mm-hmm.
And then Draymond pretty much clapped back at Jordan Poole's dad, saying that, I'll see you at an arena and we'll talk amongst men, as he said, I guess, numerous times during the interview with Chris Paul.
It's absolutely incredible that we talk amongst men.
Yeah. Pat Beverly, actually, the podcast. And then Jordan Poole had some cryptic thing in his Instagram or whatever. I just love social media shit like that.
Yeah.
I think everybody's guilty. I think Draymond didn't need to acknowledge this. I don't think Jordan Poole's father need to say anything. Of course, he's defending his son, so I understand that as well. And I think Jordan Poole, it'd be best if he just didn't acknowledge this at all. I think that whatever was said, and there's numerous things. Cameron and Mace have a speculation of what was said from Jordan Poole. I always thought that it was something along the lines of the contract, and Jordan Poole was just being cocky during a practice. It doesn't matter. It's a year removed. Draymond punched him. I don't think it was the end of the world. Of course, it did end up with Jordan Poole wanting to move on from the Warriors. So here we are, and everybody got what they wanted. Let's just stop making this a thing.
No, it'll move on, but this is what the NBA traffics in. Drama, soap opera stuff. This is what they love. They love this stuff for the offseason. They're keeping the NBA relevant as training camp is starting up. They love this. Like, of course, we'd like to move on, but this is the NBA. This is the type of stuff that they love. So it's never going to end. It's not going to end as long as Draymond's with the team. Like, the punch is going to linger over it for the next 3 years. It's going to be brought up every single time that Draymond struggles, every single time that the team might seem like they're out of sync. I'm interested to see, how they handle this season and whether things will actually change, because if they do, then I think in the end, it all comes down to winning. That's what it comes down to. Just if they win games, no one's going to care. But if they don't, it's going to continue to be brought up. So this is not the last that we're going to hear of it.
I mean, as far as the punch, I think it is. But I also think it will just be more of a detriment of what Draymond Green brings to the team if this becomes a problem. Like, everyone's expecting him and Chris Paul to get into it. And that could happen. They're both volatile people and big personalities. So that could happen. But as far as the punch, it's over. It caused Jordan Poole to leave. And it ruined Jordan Poole's career with the Warriors. And that's sad, really. Now, there's also other talk amongst the Warriors organization that Jordan Poole was kind of out of favor with the Warriors to begin with before the punch. Who knows?
Yeah.
Bottom line is, it's done. And I don't think it's really something that we need to be bringing up again. I think it's mostly about Draymond. It's Draymond and everything. Like, when we look back on Draymond's 30 for 30 and say that he was a great defensive player, maybe a Hall of Famer, and he caused so much drama to come with it at the same time. Unnecessary drama. Calling out Kevin Durant, punching Jordan Poole, getting suspended for the NBA Finals, we'll just look back and say Draymond was a great player, but did he really need to cause so much drama at the same time?
We are in so deep when Draymond punch pool. We wrapped around on our finger. Do we have to? Do we have to? Do we have to let it linger?
And I think that's a great spot to end.
I think it was really good.
On that note, Giants get swept by the Nationals. Oof.
Yeah,
Steven.
they're reeling,
lost 5 in a row here.
leaking a little oil, but then all of a sudden they'll rattle off 5 straight wins and they're back to where they were.
You think so?
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. It's baseball, man. It's so unpredictable. There's still a lot that can happen, but this does not help their trade deadline chances.
Well, we'll see. I mean, do you want John Morosi had the report yesterday. Do you want Justin Verlander?
I'm in on it.
All right.
Yeah, I'm into it.
I mean, I think that's more realistic than Ohtani at this point. I don't think Ohtani's getting traded.
Nah.
It's just too much.
Nah.
But we'll see. We may change our minds. I think last week we both said, yeah, Ohtani's getting traded. And this week we're like, no, he's not getting traded. So we'll see how we feel about it next time, whenever that may be, but we will let you know. Ernie's, thank you as always. Steven, thank you as always. And everybody that listened and watched, say what you always say, my friend, and please don't show your feet again.
It is just our opinion, Mal. That's bad.